If your sun is in Gemini, here are 10 things people get wrong about you. If you're a Gemini sun, you've been called probably flaky, two-faced, shallow, commitment phobic so many times that you've probably started to wonder if maybe everyone else is right and there's something fundamentally wrong about you. But spoiler, there isn't. Because here's what people miss. Your sun sign isn't a personality disorder waiting to be freaking diagnosed. It's a developmental assignment based on the seasonal conditions you were born into. Gemini season falls in late spring, roughly May 21st through June 20th, when everything is blooming at once. Pollination is happening, when the entire strategy of the season is diversification and spreading, love you too, Jay, it's spreading energy across multiple possibilities. And this isn't about being scattered or unfocused. It's about being born into the season that teaches variety, movement, cross pollination, and the specific kind of intelligence that comes from maintaining multiple connections instead of drilling down into one. So, what people call Gemini traits actually are just late spring survival strategies. So, let's fix that narrative. Number one, people think you can't commit when you're actually hardwired for diversification. The commitment thing is probably the most frustrating Gemini stereotype because it assumes that commitment only counts if it looks one specific way: deep, singular, exclusive, and permanent. But that's not the only form of intelligence. You see, late spring doesn't commit to one flower, it commits to many flowers because diversification is how you survive uncertainty. Let's think about what's happening in late spring. Everything's blooming at once. Pollinators are moving between flowers, spreading genetic material across dozens of plants. No single flower gets all the attention, but that's the point. If you put your energy into one flower, what boy and girl dies and you're done. But if you spread your energy across 20 flowers and 3 die, you're kind of still fine, which is morbid math, but the math does math. So you don't have commitment issues, you have a diversification strategy. You maintain multiple interests, multiple friendships, multiple projects, multiple possibilities because there's actually more stability than putting everything into one thing and hoping it all works out. Don't put your eggs in one basket, basically. What people call inability to commit is actually sophisticated risk management. Number two, people think you're two-faced, when the truth is you're actually adapting to different contexts. See, the two-faced accusation drives Geminis insane, and I don't blame them because it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what you're doing. You're not being fake, you're being contextually appropriate in my eyes. Late spring teaches that different environments requires different responses, and intelligence is knowing how to freaking adapt. A bee, it behaves differently with a rose than it does with a sunflower, right? And we're not going to call that bee two-faced, are we? Because that's recognizing that different flowers needs different approaches. You do the same thing with people. You emphasize different aspects of yourself depending on who you're talking to because that's how communication actually works. What people call two-faced is actually you being fluent in multiple languages. You can talk to your boss differently than you talk to your best friend, and both versions are authentically you. You're not lying, you're code switching. And that's not a character flaw. I think that's social intelligence. Number three, people think you're shallow when you're actually interested in breadth over depth. See, people love to accuse Geminis of being shallow, but breadth isn't shallower than depth, it's just a different form of knowing. Late spring doesn't go deep into one thing, it spreads across many things, and both strategies have value. Yours, it just kind of gets judged more harshly. Let's think about pollination. Again, a bee doesn't spend 3 hours on one flower, just like learning everything about it. The bee touches hundreds of flowers briefly, and that brief contact is exactly what creates cross pollination and genetic diversity, which is not shallow, is how ecosystems stay healthy. You learn by skimming many subjects, making connections between seemingly unrelated things, and synthesizing information from multiple sources, which gives you range and adaptability. You see, other people, they go deep into one thing and they become experts, which is great for them. But your form of intelligence is creating and connecting different information, which is equally valuable. It's just harder, I think, to quantify. So people, I feel like, assume that it just doesn't count. Number four, people think y'all talk too much, when actually you're processing through verbalization. A lot of people complain that Geminis talk too much, but they're missing that talking isn't just an output for you guys, it's how you think. Late spring is a season of pollination and cross communication, as I keep saying. Ideas need to move between minds the same way pollen moves between flowers. And talking is how that happens. Think of talking as this little like pollination floating around, okay? You don't know what you think until you say it out loud. You don't understand something until you've explained it to someone else. Your thoughts, they exist in relationship to other people's thoughts, and conversation is the medium where that exchange happens. Asking you to think quietly is like, I think, asking a bee to pollinate without flying. The movement is the point. So, what people call talking too much is actually you doing the cognitive work that your brain requires. Some people process internally, you just process externally. I don't think either is better, but yours is more visible, so people notice it and they complain about it more. Meanwhile, they're getting the benefit of your verbal processing without recognizing that's what's happening. Number five, people think you're flaky when you're actually responding to real time information. See, the flaky accusation assumes that reliability means doing exactly what you said you do no matter what new information emerges. But I don't think that's intelligent. I think that's rigid. And late spring teaches that plans change based on conditions, and adapting to new information is smarter than blindly following outdated commitments. Let's think about it this way. You said you go to that party 3 weeks ago, but now it's the day of, and something more important or interesting or aligned has come up. Honoring that new information isn't flaky, it's responsive. And you're not failing to keep commitments, you're treating commitments as conditional rather than absolute, which makes sense when conditions actually do change. You see, the problem is that other people want predictability way more than they want accuracy. So they'd rather you show up to something that you're no longer interested in than adapt to what's actually true right now. And you can't do that. Your developmental assignment is movement and adaptation, not rigid consistency. And what they call flaky is actually you staying aligned with present reality. Number six, people think you can't focus when you're actually maintaining multiple attention streams. You see, everyone assumes Geminis have attention problems because you can't do one thing for 8 hours straight. But sustained singular focus isn't the only form of attention. Late spring doesn't focus on one plant, it maintains awareness of the entire garden at once. That's a different skill, not a deficiency, last time I checked. Because you can hold multiple threads simultaneously. You can work on 3 projects in one day, have 5 conversations going on at once, and track 7 different topics without losing any of them. That's not scattered attention, that's distributed attention. It's like the difference between a spotlight and a floodlight. Both illuminate. I think yours just covers more ground. And what people call a lack of focus is actually you refusing to artificially narrow your attention when your brain is meant to hold like multiplicity. Asking you to focus on one thing is like asking a gardener to only water one plant. It doesn't make sense given the scope of what you're actually managing. Number seven, people think you get bored easily when you're actually designed for novelty and variety. See, the boredom thing isn't a personality flaw, it's a feature of your seasonal assignment. Late spring is when everything is new blooms, new growth, new combinations, new possibilities, and your brain is calibrated to that frequency. Reputation and routine aren't just boring to you, they're like antithesis to how late spring actually functions, I think. Because you need novelty the way other people need stability. Your nervous system is designed to engage with what's new, interesting, and different. So when something becomes routine, your attention naturally moves to where there's still some novelty to be found, some excitement to be seen. That's not you being immature or easily distracted. That's you operating correctly within your seasonal framework. See, what people call getting bored easily is actually you recognizing when you've extracted all the learning available from a situation and it's time to move on. So you're not commitment phobic, you're just not interested in staying somewhere after the learning is done. And late spring doesn't keep blooming the same flower, it moves on to the next one. Number eight, people think you're unreliable when you're actually reliable in a different way. Let's talk about reliability. Reliability gets defined as shows up exactly as promised every time, no matter what. But that's only one kind of reliability. You're reliable in a different way. You're reliably responsive, reliably adaptable, and reliably able to find solutions when plans fall apart. If someone needs help, you'll figure it out. If a situation changes, you'll adapt. If something breaks, you'll troubleshoot. See, that's a different form of reliability than rigid consistency, but it's actually more useful in unpredictable conditions. You see, late spring weather, it changes constantly. Rigid planning doesn't work, but adaptive responsiveness does. You might not show up exactly when you said you would, but you will show up when it actually matters. You might change plans, but you will make sure everyone's covered. You might forget the small things, but you will come through on the important things. That's not unreliability. That's situational reliability, which I think is arguably more valuable than blind consistency. Number nine, people think you're manipulative when you're actually just good at reading and responding to people. See, the manipulation accusation comes from people who are uncomfortable with how well you read them because you notice things, you pick up on the subtext, you understand what people say before they say it, and you know how to give them a version of you that makes them comfortable. And this is not manipulation, this is fluency. Because late spring is about cross pollination, which requires understanding what each flower needs and adapting accordingly. So you do the same thing socially. You'll read the room, understand what's needed, and adjust your presentation, which is not being fake, it's being socially intelligent. You see, the difference between manipulation and adaptation is intent. Manipulation, I think, is about control, while adaptation is about connection. You're not trying to control people, you're trying to communicate effectively with them, which requires meeting them where they are. And people who can't do that will call it manipulation because they don't understand that communication is inherently adaptive. Number two, oh my gosh, I'm always off. Number 10, people think you need to finish what you start, but the truth is you're actually not built for completion. And I think this is a huge one because everyone tells Geminis they need to finish things, get it done, stick with things, see things through. But that completely misses your developmental assignment. You see, late spring doesn't finish things, late spring begins things. The finishing, it happens later in different seasons. Your job is at initiation, not completion. If we think about what happens late spring, flowers are blooming, pollination is happening, seeds are getting started. But the actual growth, the ripening and the harvest, this happens in summer and autumn. Late spring just gets everything going. You're the same way. You start projects, you generate ideas, you initiate connections, you create possibilities, while other people finish them. Trying to make yourself do the full cycle, start, develop, complete, is like asking spring to also be summer and autumn. And you're not built for that. You're built to begin many things, cross pollinate between them, create the conditions for other people or other parts of yourself in different seasonal energies to complete them. And that's not failure, that's doing your actual job. Asking you to finish everything you start is misunderstanding your function. You're the pollinator, not the harvest. Both are necessary, but they're different jobs. The bottom line is if you're a Gemini sun, you're not scattered, flaky, or incapable of depth. You're a late spring specialist. You're built for diversification, cross pollination, and adaptive communication. I feel like I rhymed there. And maintaining multiple attention streams simultaneously. What people call your negative traits are actually sophisticated strategies for the season you were born into. You're not here to go deep into one thing. You're here to maintain breadth across many things and to create connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. You're not here to commit singularly. You're here to commit to multiplicity and to build resilient systems through diversification. You're not here to finish everything. You're here to start everything and let the completion happen in its own time. The people who get you, they understand that your movement isn't chaos, it's pollination. That your variety isn't shallowness, it's range. That your adaptability isn't unreliability, it's intelligence. Oh, I did it wrong there. Your adaptability isn't unreliability. Yeah. Okay, let me stop. It's intelligence. And the people who don't get you will keep asking you to be one thing, to stay still, to go deep, to just maintain being here. Let them. I think you've got many flowers to visit.